Welcome. Today we're going to be looking at the motor again for the 1980 Reinell boat project. We're going to be putting on some of the accessories today. We're going to put on a couple of parts in the front, the water pump. We're going to clean everything up. We're going to make sure everything's ready to go. We're getting close to being able to start it, so we want to make sure everything is organized and put back together. So let's get to it. Okay, first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we clean up all the parts. We want to make sure everything's nice and clean, everything's running as good as possible. Hopefully not too gravelly, not too bad. Hopefully it'll all work when we put it back together. Okay, as I was cleaning the water pump, I noticed I want to make sure that this is nice and clean. We don't want any kind of leaks when it comes to the water pump. So I'm going to take the wire wheel and I'm going to clean this up real nice. Alright, she's a little rough right now, but that's looking a lot better. At least get a good seal on there. So those of you who aren't really familiar with inboard engines, inboard outboard, this is the water pump. So basically, this spins off of the, it's kind of locked up. That's not a good thing. It spins off of the engine. It's got a little pump right here, pumps water in from lake, river, whatever you're on, and out to the engine. Okay, back over to the engine. So the first thing I want to put on is the water pump. Now, before that, obviously I want to make sure that everything's kind of cleaned up. We want to make sure we wire wheel everything, make sure that it's ready to go on, clean up any of the spaces that we missed before, and then put that on. So let's get to it. Taking a look at the water pump. I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds incredibly awful. Now I might need a new water pump, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back off and see if there's anything we can do with it, because I'd rather not spend the money on it, but you got to do what you got to do. Sorry for my sniffles. It's winter up here in Wisconsin and it's kind of cold in the old little garage. Well, that would do it. You can see right where the water was, where it sat there, for who knows how many years. All I know is it needs to be cleaned. So you can hear, feels like the bearings and everything are okay. I think it just had a little bit of rust in here that it was rubbing on, making the noise. So it is far from perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. All right, let's put her back together get it ready to install. Alright, so now we kind of got everything all cleaned up with for the water pump. We're ready to put it on. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get the gasket for it, so I'm gonna just use RTV on this. I know it's not right. I know I should do it. I know I'm gonna regret it and have to take it all apart again and put the gasket on. But I'm gonna put RTV on this. And then we're gonna put it back together. And then we're gonna hope, and then we're gonna pray that it works. And when it doesn't, I'll cry and you can say, I told you so. I told you you need to put the gasket on. All right, so we're ready. So I got my RTV, and I got my RTV gloves on. Now you may wonder, how can you tell if your gloves are RTV? Well, you just kind of can. Now, if you don't like what I'm doing, feel free to scream at me in the comment section. I'm sure some of you are already doing that. Tell me, you should just take the time and do it right. Let's set her on here. Now, when you're putting these together, get that like out of my eyeball. When you're putting these together, you want to make sure that these bolts are torqued to a specific torque. What that torque is the elbow torque. You gotta get it checked out periodically just to make sure it still works. And what you do is you kind of give her a little bit until you hear the solid pop in your elbow. If you get the pop in your shoulder, you've gone too far. Gotta back it off and work it again. Get that pop in the elbow. Oh, just go. All right. Now, you can't really see it. Let me see if I can give you a better view. But this bolt right here connects through, but this is where the alternator is going to hook onto. The alternator bracket actually hooks onto there. So that should be the next thing we should do. All right, now we're going to snug it down for now, just to make sure that this correct gasket for the water pump seals up real nice. Now we'll back this off when we're actually putting the alternator on. All right, so let's put the pulley on. What I always suggest, and maybe I said this before, but what I always suggest is if you're taking screws out, put them back in where they came from if you can. Now sometimes things like water pump, you can't really just leave them in the block if you're going to work on it, but keep it with the stuff so you know which ones are going back in. Ooh, that's going forever. Alrighty. Now, just to kind of let you guys know, I am certainly, I'm sure I've said this before, I am not a professional. I just like tinkering. I don't always know the perfect thing or the right thing to do. I just kind of do what I think is right. And if it's not right, well, then I learn from it, I guess. So, honestly, I say, you know, tell me what I'm doing wrong, but in the comments, I really do rely on comments. Because otherwise, I could make some serious mistakes and not even realize it. You know, like setting 0 lash on the rockers and then forgetting to, you know, do preload on it. And then maybe bending rods and damaging stuff, which luckily I didn't do. But I did remember that I have to do preload on them, so. All right. A little bit rough. Kind of a hope and pray. And sometimes you just don't have the money to do all this stuff, but all right. That's on. All right. Next stop on the put the engine back together train is the alternator. Of course, if you get the bolt already, it's easier to put together. All right, so what we're gonna do is slide this into here, put it all back together, real simple like. That's what they all say. Okay. Let me show you this while I'm thinking about it. So this lower bolt, it's actually got a nylock nut on there. And that's so that it holds even if this bolt isn't completely tight. Because you do want to have a little bit of flexibility while you're putting on the belt and tightening it all up. Also helps if you use the correct socket. Ooh, well, let's fix that before I go any further. Yeah, somebody forgot to put a rag in there. Pause. All right. So, maybe you all saw it and were screaming at me, but when I took everything out and cleaned it, I never stuck anything down inside here. Luckily, hopefully, nothing fell down inside there. I don't see anything. Just want to make sure that's covered. Stuff don't fall in there. It goes right down into the works. And you don't want the works getting all buggered up. All right. Back to what we were doing before we stopped and started doing something else, and we're doing something. All right. Now we'll loosen this one up a little bit with the right socket. Okay. And we'll bring this up, put the bolt in. Okay. Why can't I remember where anything is? Alright. Belt. That's the thing. Alright, this belt goes down, around under, and up and through, and together the anchor. It's actually pretty good, to be honest with you. I was looking at it. No crack. Well, a little bit of cracking going on, but again, we'll pretend we didn't see that. All right, so first things first, tighten this bad boy down. And then I'm gonna make sure this puppy gets tightened down. You want her tight, but you don't want her flopping. You don't want to be, playing like it's a guitar. Okay, you want it tight enough. This ain't a race car. It ain't a high performance belt. It's old and cheap. I don't want to spend the money. Common thread. All right. So that's that. Now you can come back. And this bottom bolt can be fully tightened up. Because yes, it's got that lock nut on it, but you want to make sure things aren't moving around. So it's best click to give it the elbow. All right. Next, we're going to clean up the, I don't know if you call it a water neck or what you call it, but this thing, water comes in here and goes out here and out there, All right, that was easy. Now this still has the gasket on here, so I wanted to make sure I was kind of careful. And 3 screws, and it's in. This one seems to be missing a lock washer. Let's see if I got one. All right, easy peasy. bit snug, so I'm gonna try and see. Make sure nothing's wrong with the threads here. Okay. I think we're all right. When putting engines together, I do my best to use hand tools. You don't want to really use a power. Way too much torque. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to bring you in real close. You guys can see this. It doesn't really line up. I'm not sure why. This actually came off of this, unless the last guy did something to it, but if you guys know what the deal is with that, or if that's a major problem, let me know. Because I don't work a lot with these, so I'm not exactly sure. Maybe that's just kind of a thing. I don't know. Alright, so like I was saying before, I never did put preload. Thing attacked me. Did you see that? I never did put preload on here. Now with hydraulic flat tappet lifters, they're going to get oil down inside them, and that's actually going to push them up a little bit so that there's a little cushion there. Well, if you have it tight, when that pushes up, it's going to apply a lot of pressure right here, and you're either going to have issues with your valves, or you're going to have issues with all the stuffs. So what you want to do, you want to put it on, and you want to go 3/4 of a turn, okay? Half, and then 3/4. Half, and then 3/4. Half, and then 3/4. Half, and 3/4. Do that all the way around. Alright, that gives you a nice preload. Alright, that's done. Now, do a little clean out here. Let's put the valve cover gaskets on. So I got these cork seals, mainly because, they're cheap ones. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that. We're going to slide the covers right over the top, bolt it down. We'll make sure we're good to go on that, and we'll kind of wipe everything down, make it look all pretty. Something to bring in here. So what I like doing when I'm doing these is I like starting with one of the, I would say, corners. I know it's rounded, so it's not really a corner. Starting with one of the corners and either then going down to the opposite corner or up above and making sure they're lined up. And then hitting, see if these two are on top, hit this one in the middle to make sure everything's lined up, and then you should be good. In case you've never done these before, if you take a look, there's little tabs. And there's little tabs on each of the gaskets, and they kind of fit right there. Gives you an idea as to how it's going to go together. So I'm not sure how you guys do this, but I kind of take it down till it's snug. You know, again, work my way around in kind of a star type pattern. And then I kind of see how everything's going after the engine starts. You don't want to crank these down too much. Maybe there's a torque for it, I don't know. But if you get her snug, most of the time that's enough. And then you can kind of use the old eyeballs to see when it's running, if it's leaking at all, and give her a little tighten. All right, let's do the other side. Alright, finally, we're gonna do a little bit of cleanup on these, make them look a little prettier. I like to use a little glue gun because that'll get rid of all the sticky, nasty gunk all over it. And it's nice for cleaning. And it smells lovely. Alright, well, I think that's going to be it for today. Today we put on the water pump pulley, the alternator, cleaned everything up. We made sure that we set the preload on all of the lifters, on all of the rockers. We got the valve covers put on, got them cleaned up. We got the water neck, question mark, put back on. Is it right? Gosh, I hope so. We'll see when we start it, I guess. A little bit of cleanup. I was going to do the water pump. I was going to put that on down here and put that on as well, but she seems to kind of be locked up, so I'm going to put that off, and maybe next time we'll look at that and we'll kind of tear into it and see if it's something we can salvage, or if we're going to have to just bite the bullet and get a new one. So, thank you very much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Leave me a like if you're enjoying this. Think about subscribing. That'll help me out quite a bit. Gets my name out there a little, more people watching. And leave a comment down below for anything you see, even if it's just, hey, how's it going? Just put that down there. It helps me out, helps get my name out there, helps get everything going. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.